Hello, I'm Tricia Sumich from ECA WA, and today I'd like to introduce Ken Rogers, and Ken will be doing a talk for us on stress. Thank you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks, Tricia, for the opportunity. No, I'm very happy to be here. What I wanted to do was just give a short presentation around stress and the impact that it has. What I'll do now is actually pick up and get some the PowerPoint ready, which is I see just there, and right, we'll kick it off. I can do that from here. That's it. Great. All right. So this is just, as I say, it's just going to be a PowerPoint understanding stress. Everyone goes through stress in our lives, as we know, and right now it's particularly stressful for many people. So this is just a short intro to stress, understanding it and managing it. So the first thing to be aware of is that stress is the body's way of managing some kind of pressure or demand. We all have stress in our lives, but we can have too little and too much. So there's two mentions. There's eustress and distress, as you can see on this slide. So when you've got too little motivation, you can become bored. The prime spaces in the middle, where you can be more focused and understand more about how you're thinking. But then if there's just too much motivation going on, you can get to distressed as well. So importantly, be aware of that as we begin. So stress itself can have a lot of negative effects on the body. It can have a massive impact for reflux, heartburn, as you can see there, irritable bowel syndrome, ulcers, diarrhea, constipation, indigestion have a massive impact there. High blood pressure, can lead to heart disease, stroke, bladder, diabetes can be impacted. Can also impact on our immune system. We can also impact our asthma, allergies, colds. There's twice as much vulnerability to colds and infections if you're stressed. Can impact on your body, your muscles, spasms and pains, and also can lead to cancer and reproductive problems as well. So it has a massive impact, stress, when we're in that distress stage, when there's too much around. And under stress, our prefrontal lobe in the front of our brain here can actually start to disengage. So it talks about we can have trouble making decisions. It'll impact our judgment, how we actually solve problems, and really impact on our perspective and how we plan for things. So stress has a great impact on what's going on in our lives. So you've probably heard of the flight or fight response. This is where our primitive brain, the amygdala, is wired for us to kill the saber-toothed tiger and run away when we're stressed. So evolution-wise, that's where our stress responses come from. And our bodies have evolved to help us survive and provide us with really quick bursts of energy. And so it's helped us stay alive, but sometimes when stress is around, it can be very, very hard to manage. So there's nothing wrong with stress per se, provided it's activated when it needs to be and it isn't prolonged. But often we mobilise this fight or flight response when it isn't necessary. And so stress management is about minimising the activation and learning how we can actually switch that stress off. So it's pretty much unavoidable stress. I mean, there's a whole lot going on. We can be impacted by relationships, separation, kids, money worries, travelling to work, travelling within the state, etc. Moving house is a big stressor for many people. Changes in our health when people close to us pass. And as we age, it can also be quite stressful. Pressures of daily living, and of course, social media is highly stressful for many people as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's impacting us. So it's unavoidable in and of itself. And men and women tend to experience stress differently. Men experience stress response for longer. We can often dull our emotions, get increased aggression going on, and maybe be pretty disinterested, to sort of stonewall and not get too involved. Whereas women tend to experience the stress response a little bit more briefly, where they'll do some more increased nurturing, going back to social bonding and drawing closer to others. But fundamentally, the responses are different between men and women. So how do we actually manage stress in and of itself? What can we do to actually make this feel better for ourselves? So the first strategy is actually start the day by becoming anchored and maintaining a sense of calm. Waking up in the morning and knowing, well, it's a new day. Being anchored and monitoring how that's going to work. We just focus on what we're going to do without necessarily rushing too much. A second strategy is actually managing your thoughts. We get a whole lot of thoughts in our minds. How we can manage those well for us is really important. So that's another strategy, and there's more that we can do. This is a short video, but there's more that you can do outside of this, of course. So in terms of managing your thoughts, you might wake up and you might have a really negative or a fearful thought. You can start to catastrophize. Oh dear, if this happens, and that'll happen, and it can start to really get beyond what it actually is, could cause catastrophizing. And then maybe what we fear becomes true in terms of our thought process. So our amygdala, our fight or flight response, sounds an alert, and we can get stressed because of that. So what we think about may become more real for us. So we need to be careful about managing negative or fearful thoughts. Another strategy is actually learning how to pay attention, know what's going on in and around you, and try and work on ways to say, well, I'm more appreciative of that, not get blindsided by things that are happening. So learning to pay attention is really important. And another strategy is, of course, making lifestyle changes, exercise, what's your diet, all the things that I'm sure you've all heard of before, but can be really helpful in terms of working. We said don't have. I don't know if any of you have got children. Don't give your kids raspberry cooling and lemonade. I mean, they can get really hyper with that sort of stuff. So watch what you eat. It's really important. Those sorts of things are really important in terms of lifestyle. So again, with regard to lifestyle, exercise can be really helpful. That'll help burn off the stress hormones. Anything as simple as going for a walk, can be really helpful. Helps you sleep better and helps promote your calm nature as well. So I thought this would be interesting as well, just the impact of social media can have on our lives. Just looking at this Internet Minute over from 2018 through to 2020, in 60 seconds across the world, 1.3 million people log into Facebook, 90 million texts are sent, 4.7 million YouTube videos are watched. I mean, it's a massive amount. 59 million messages are sent in 60 seconds. So, and you compare that over the years, which I've included those two previous years, just shows the cumulative effect of social media is having on us and on our time, and impacting on our energy. So take some of that social media busyness away from your life is really important. So other things specifically around managing stress, you can use some relaxation techniques like controlled breathing, meditation. I'm sure you've all heard of that before. Mindfulness is very, very popular, and progressive muscle relaxation. These are things that you can find out how to do. Can be really helpful in terms of working through what you need to do to manage your own stress. And just do things that you want to do things with your kids, learn to relax, with your family, with your friends, read a book, something you might not have done for a long, long time. That can also be really helpful. Then also to become really aware of what's happening in your body. So, sore necks, things are starting to happen. Okay, the longer you ignore that tension, the harder it is to bring under control. So relaxation can actually help turn off that amygdala, that fight or flight response, which is also really critical. Importantly, use someone that says yes more often than not. Learn to say no when you need to. You can't overload yourself, and it's really important to know what you're capable of and know your capabilities, and in a controlled way, learn to say no. Really important. Reduce your caffeine intake. Don't have any after lunch is the big recommendation. So no Red Bull, Coke, cups of coffee, even a cup of tea. All have caffeine in, so try and restrict it after lunch. That'll impact on your sleep and does impact on your stress as well. Limit your alcohol, of course. No more than 4 standard drinks a day is some of the recommendations there, but in any one sitting. But really important, limit your alcohol. That has a massive impact on your stress, and it impacts on your current moods. So working that through is really important. And for men, strengthen your relationships. Cultivate some leisure activities that work for you. Find unharmful ways to let off your steam, and find a good place where you can go and clear your head. Often when men get triggered, it'll take about 30 minutes for us to get some of those hormones out of our mind where we get stressed. So find a nice place to go, let off the steam in a constructive way is really important. And so it's also important. And also take stock of what's really, really important, most valuable to you. Family, friends, spouses, etc. Really important to take stock of what you're grateful for, and a gratitude journal is often really helpful in this space as well. So I'd like to thank you. Stress impacts on us all, but importantly, it can be managed and you can do things about it.